So, good evening, everyone. My name is Vicki Lowry, and I'm the Program Director for Vision Loss Alliance of New Jersey. And also with us this evening is Anthony Filangeri. He is our new full-time technology coordinator.
Hey, everyone.
And I just want to let everyone know that now that we have Anthony on staff, please feel free if you have any kind of tech questions or need any kind of assistance, please feel free to reach out to him. I will put his email and phone number with his extension in the chat for everybody. And I can also email it out if anybody requests it. Okay. So thank you for joining us this evening. And just as a reminder, this program is being recorded. We ask that you please mute yourselves, and after a few moments of quiet, we will begin. Welcome to Tech Talks, hosted by Vision Loss Alliance of New Jersey. Tonight we have with us Doug Gilbert, Certified Orientation and Mobility Specialist. We will be exploring some of the older navigation apps and some of the newer ones for indoor and outdoor navigation. We will discuss the functionality and the pros and cons. We will also explore the new Ambutech Pathfinder 360 cane tip and other canes on the market. Oh, yeah. Before I introduce our guest, I would like to share with you his bio. Doug's vision loss was detected when he was an infant, and he was also diagnosed with dyslexia at the age of 4 years old. Doug is a graduate of Rutgers University with a degree in the School of Management and Labor Relations. He has been an advocate for the Client Assistant Program, a job developer coordinator for the Adjustment to Vision Loss Program, and a travel instructor for NJ-TIP at Rutgers, where he taught students with disabilities how to use public transportation. A recent graduate from Salus University, Doug is now a certified orientation and mobility specialist working for the New Jersey Commission for the Blind and Visually Impaired. Before we move on to this evening's presentation, let's review our Zoom protocol for this evening. We ask that you hold your questions until Doug cues you. When you ask your question, we ask that you raise your hand. For those of you who have dialed in, the raise your hand feature is *9. *6 will mute and unmute you, giving you the opportunity to ask your question. Using a computer, Alt-Y to raise your hand, Alt-A is the mute and unmute command. If you are using a Mac, use the Option + Y, the keyboard shortcut to raise or lower your hand, and Alt + A to mute and unmute yourself. Using the Zoom app on the iPad, move to the top right, select the More option, and flick down to the Raise Hand. On the iPhone, this feature is located at the bottom of the screen on the right side. And now we welcome to tonight's Tech Talks, Doug Gilbert.
Hi, everyone. How's everyone doing tonight? All right, groovy. So tonight, first half of tonight's talk, I would like to discuss navigation apps, in particular the ones that are available on smartphone platforms. I'm going to divide these into two basic categories. The first one we'll call GPS, which you're probably somewhat familiar with. And the second category is environmental navigation. So is everyone familiar with using GPS on your smartphones? Well,
yes, I am.
Oh, okay, brilliant. All right. So essentially what happens is that a smartphone is able to access, I think they are actually able to access the existing constellation of GPS satellites that anyone in Western countries can use, but they also use cell phone towers to help locate your particular position. And then once it locates your position, you can use that to explore your neighborhood around you on the smartphone and plan and create a route to a destination. The more familiar ones are probably Google Maps and the Apple Maps feature. Now, each of these particular categories has their own pros and cons, but I would like to discuss one particular app called Lazarillo. Lazarillo was created by an independent company. I believe it's a Latin American company. And one of their key talking points is that Lazarillo uh, goes to a variety of campuses. It could be a college campus, it could be a shopping district, or something along those lines. And they actually have people hyper accurately map these particular regions. Now, it does cost the whoever's campus it is. So let's, for giggles, let's say Rutgers University decided that they wanted to hyper accurately map the Rutgers Newark campus. So I believe someone would actually come with a high end backpack with very sophisticated GPS equipment, and they could actually get like very narrow fix on, let's say, I don't know the Rutgers Newark campus that well. Let's say Hickman Hall, which I used to frequent commonly on the Cook Douglas campus in New Brunswick. It's my understanding that the current error rate on a standard telephone GPS mapping system is a number of feet. I think it could be dozens of feet. So theoretically, when you're looking for the front door of, let's say, Hickman Hall, that could be off somewhat, and then you would need your O&M skills in order to locate the door. Using Lazarillo, that error rate is much smaller, maybe only a few feet, to the point that if you're using it in a shopping mall, it could really get you right to, let's say, the front door of the Gap or Forever 21, or I'm not even sure if any of these businesses are still operational. But Lazarillo, they have one of the things that drives Lazarillo is there are lots of what they call POI, points of interest. So there are lists of categories: restaurants, shopping, transportation, education. And this is basically your menu, how you would go around exploring your neighborhood and exploring the app. Now, it's my understanding that Lazarillo used to give you the opportunity to either use one of the existing platforms in the form of Google Maps or Apple Maps. However, it's my understanding that Lazarillo has since struck out upon their own, and they actually have their own proprietary mapping platform. I haven't really had an opportunity to take Lazarillo out for a spin recently, but Lazarillo is a truly wonderful tool when it comes to exploration of your neighborhood, when it comes to looking at these points of interest. Now, just for true disclosure, in some way, you have to use different mapping platforms in order to get the most precise view, for lack of a better word, of the particular neighborhood. The example that I like to give is a number of years ago, when I finally got my smartphone, and I actually had a Samsung flip phone up until the iPhone 6 came out, and I used that 6 until it died. I live in a community, and right in the middle of my community is a lake with a footbridge over it. If I wanted to go to my local Dunkin' Donuts, approximately a half mile away, if I were to use Google Maps, what it would do is it would essentially give me driving directions, even though I'm asking for walking directions. So what it would do is it would tell me to go out of my house, turn left, walk approximately 500 feet down my street, turn right onto the next street, walk on that street for the better part of half a mile, turn right again, and then I'm on a 4-lane highway. and then have to walk approximately another half mile to a safe crossing point, then cross over this 4-lane highway to get to my Dunkin' Donuts. Needless to say, not very efficient, not very safe. However, when I started using Apple Maps for the same trip, it is actually a much better sidewalk reader, for lack of a better word. If I were to use Apple Maps to go to the same Dunkin' Donuts, it would tell me to turn right outside of my house. It would guide me along a sidewalk to the footbridge, over the footbridge, along a sidewalk again, to an existing bike tunnel that they dug underneath our highway when they built our community over 50 years ago. Then follow the existing sidewalks to the Dunkin' Donuts. Have not had the opportunity to take Lazzarello and put it through its processes, but the takeaway from this particular story is no one single app is going to be ideal for the VIP community. Simply because it's my experience that most of the GPS mapping applications tend to default to the street, i.e., well, if there's a street, there must be a safe sidewalk paralleling that street. Has anyone else ever encountered this particular function or lack of function?
I really haven't. We had Apps Club, and we were trying it out. They told me to try it out. We were talking about it, and one thing that was interesting, it was announcing the addresses of the houses and buildings I was passing.
Yes. Now, Google Maps, Apple Maps are not particularly good at that. But a lot of our dedicated VIP apps, such as Lazarillo, Voice Vista, these are great at calling out what's around us. And now it can get a little noisy, but it's also how you choose to navigate. For example, if you navigate by landmarks, so like I have dyslexia, so it actually required me to retrain my brain, especially when I entered O&M, that I had to start using terms such as left and right, cross street, things like that, versus as a much younger person, I would say, oh, proceed down the street. You're going to see an oak tree and a convenience store. Turn at that point and go on from there. So if you're relying more on addresses, especially like if you're looking for a specific address, an app like Lazarillo does offer that level of functionality. Now, some of the other apps that are similar to Lazarillo, but somewhat different. You may have heard of apps such as Right Here, Microsoft Soundscape, which is no longer supported, or Voice Vista. Now, these are very non-vision driven apps. They don't usually have a map that you can actually look at and manipulate, but they are truly excellent at what they call the call outs. So if I'm exploring a neighborhood for the first time and I have to teach a student that particular neighborhood, what I may want to do is, without entering any routing information, as in what my starting point is and what I want my end point to be, I may act a Lazarillo or a Voice Vista app and just proceed to walk along with as many of the call outs functioning as possible. So it would call out, now passing 15 Plum Street, now passing 17 Plum Street, approaching the cross street, Plum Street at 3rd Street. Again, this is it really depends on how your particular brain works and how you interpret the world. So these different functionalities do come into play. Does anyone have any preferences as to how you navigate? Do you go by landmark? Do you go by left, right, and street corner? What kind of call out functionalities would you like when it comes to navigating, and under what circumstances? Anyone? Well, one of the things I hope to do when I come to the new store, and we can walk towards Route 10, is we could possibly go around demonstrating some of these call out functions,
I always look for landmarks,
such as.
like the side, like the end of a sidewalk when I had to turn left or right on the side street,
Hmm.
and it's
Okay, but
and the
what makes
tactile
that a
domes,
landmark?
like the tactile domes.
Okay, the don't now. When I refer to a landmark, okay, a landmark is permanent and unique. Okay, so the truncated domes at an intersection, um, in my opinion, that's more of a clue or a cue, right? The clue is that I must be at or very close to a proper pedestrian crossing point.
And then
But
a fence.
a fence is good. A fence is good, but not all fences are unique.
Yes.
Okay. But for a giggle, if we had a fence that was covered in ivy, and that fence was next to a bench and a USPS mailbox, those three clues put together, that could be a landmark. Another landmark, or another aspect of what a landmark could be, would be, let's say, the brick church right across the street from the Orange train station. If anyone's used the Morris Essex line, right? Brick church station, there is a monster brick church there. Not to mention, if we are in fact lost and we need directions, if we ask a stranger, it's like, hey, could you direct me to the brick church across the street from the Orange train station? They'd be like, oh, okay, go this way. All right. Any other questions or uses of landmarks or call outs or anything like that? No? All right. Well, now, unfortunately, these landmarks are not necessarily incorporated within any of these mapping platforms. So we have to get a little bit more creative, maybe even do a little bit more research when it comes to planning our routes before we start traveling. Does anyone use Street View? I'm freestyling a little bit off the top of my head, so please forgive me. But is anyone familiar with Street View or how to use it within the mapping platforms?
Is
No.
that where you are facing the building rather than the eagle view of a map?
Correct. So
Ground level.
what Google and Apple Maps and some of the other platforms have actually done is they actually send cars through neighborhoods with a 4-directional camera on top of this car. So at 201 Littleton Avenue, there's actually a picture of the campus of the industrial park that VLANJ, that Vision Loss Alliance's new offices are in. So if you have enough usable vision, you could actually take a look at the picture of, for example, the campus in front of Vision Loss Alliance, and maybe the buildings either side of that particular driveway. And then when the GPS gets you close enough, you could use your residual vision to identify the shape of, or the view of these buildings, and then that could help you navigate the rest of the way in. Now, I'm not entirely sure how an app like Be My Eyes or some of the other descriptor applications that are out there for people with vision loss, I'm not sure how that would be interpreted. That might, depending on your vision functionality, that might not be the best of all possible options. But if you're actually traveling with a sighted companion, and you're a captain of this ship, you might need your sighted companion, to say, hey, can you look out for the white building with dark vertical windows, because that's the office park that Vision Loss Alliance is in. Questions, concerns, funny jokes?
You have
No?
any idea? Do you have any suggestions for, let's say you cannot see these kind of those types of street views or anything like that? People who do not have vision to do that.
Well, there is Be My Eyes, and now unfortunately, I don't know if Be My Eyes can actually interpret the picture that's on your phone. Be My Eyes actually uses your existing camera, and then it would describe the environment outside. So that would require a little bit more research for me. But if you cannot see the street view, if that would not be of any benefit to you, you have to rely a little bit more on your existing orientation and mobility skills. Once the platform gets you close, which kind of segues me into my second category of navigation applications. And that's what I'm loosely referring to environmental navigation, as opposed to using cell phone towers and satellites. The first one I'd like to introduce you to is called the Walk Assist app. Has anyone heard of that one?
I think I talked about it one time.
Well, Walk Assist, what it does is it uses the phone's camera. All right. Now, and by the way, all of these telephone applications, whether it's camera-based or GPS-based, these are energy hogs. Okay. So be prepared. At the conclusion of your trip, you may want to make sure you have the ability to charge your phone. Because GPS is a very energy intensive operation. Using your camera is also a very energy intensive operation. And at this point in time, you really need that last bit of battery just in case you need to make that emergency phone call or get that last minute Uber or something along those lines. So what the Walk Assist app does, and it's a pretty bare bones app. There are no buttons. You just simply activate the app. And what the app does is it uses optical recognition software. So basically it uses some form of artificial intelligence, and don't ask me how that works. And it can actually interpret the image in the picture, and Walk Assist, what it would interpret are crosswalks, so the painted lines in the street, and traffic signals. And that's all it does. So if you are in fact a cane traveler and you're traveling down the street, and maybe your GPS, or maybe you actually can, maybe your GPS is telling you that you are now approaching Plum Street at 3rd Avenue, and you have to cross 3rd Avenue, the phone could actually, if there is in fact a crosswalk painted in the street, the phone could actually pick up the crosswalk and let you know that you're pointed at the crosswalk. And as everyone knows, you really have to cross within the parallel lines of the crosswalk just for us to be legit and to enjoy all the rights and privileges as a pedestrian crossing a street. Really quick, is everyone familiar with the rights of a pedestrian in the state of New Jersey?
Yes.
Maddie,
Not
what
really.
are they?
Not really. Yeah.
You have to yield to the person in the crosswalk.
There's that.
And then for the visually impaired, if you don't yield to the cane, you get 6 points on your license.
Okay, I did not know the points, but what Matt is basically interpreting the white cane law. So all of us who use a white mobility cane, okay, could be all white, preferably white with red at the bottom. Okay, that entitles the bearer of that device to a certain level of privilege. Essentially, if as long as you're at an otherwise permissible crossing point, okay, so any kind of crosswalk, any kind of traffic, not any kind, but most traffic light controlled intersections, even in certain rural settings. Does anyone remember the church in Denville?
No. What church is that?
No. So the church in Denville on Morris Avenue, the street that was right in front of the church. Now, granted, not too many of us actually got outside towards that street because usually our vehicles would pull into the back to the roundabout and then just drop us off there. The street in front of the church, there are no crosswalks on that part of Morris Avenue. And even though there were side streets intersecting that portion of Morris Avenue, that may not be considered an otherwise permissible crossing point. So theoretically, even if you were crossing and it was an all quiet and you were otherwise safe, theoretically, a Denville cop could possibly write you a jaywalking ticket. Not entirely sure, but further down Morris Avenue, if the church is at your back and if you were to go to the left, because the road becomes somewhat more rural, somewhat more country, away from the city. So if you're like in farm country and you want to cross the street to visit your neighbor, that could be considered an otherwise permissible crossing point, or an intersection on an otherwise rural road. All right, so there is a certain level of interpretation there. All right, sorry, I went off on a tangent there. Now there are other apps like Walk Assist. One of the big ones you may have heard of is OKO. OKO. I am not a fan of OKO anymore because OKO is now a pay app. And it's not a one-time thing, it's a subscription. All right. So $30 a year, just so your phone can tell you there's a don't walk signal or a walk signal. I am not down with that program, boys and girls. No, I was quite disappointed in the app. Quite disappointed. Not to mention it does not necessarily interpret the crosswalk. Now, yes, before it went subscription and before I deleted the app from my phone, they were piling on other bells and whistles. They were giving you the option to, use it as your map, as your routing software. So you could actually theoretically enter your destination address, Burger King, the fire station, whatever. But who cares? At $3 a month or $30 a year, no, I'm not. So at least for the time being, Walk Assist is free. There are some problems in that the OCO app, when I had an opportunity to use it in Asbury Park, I did run into a small problem, and this is something that we should explore. I was in Asbury Park, and I was actually showing it off to some of my fellow O&Ms. And I was so proud because my phone was going, don't walk, don't walk, don't walk. But then it stopped. And I'm like, okay, is there a truck parked in front of me? Is there what's the boggle? Anyway, a couple minutes later, I heard the surge in the traffic, and it started going, don't walk, don't walk, don't walk. And then I broke out my telescope and I had an epiphany. The OCO app is supposed to interpret the PED head. Does anyone know what I mean by the PED head?
No.
The PED head is the little box at a traffic light controlled intersection. 30 years ago, this box would have said, don't walk or walk. And it would have changed, don't walk would have been red. It could have been a blinking don't walk or a lit white walk signal. Nowadays, the walk signal is a little dude, a little white or blue walking stick figure. And then the don't walk is a blinking hand with numbers or a solid halt hand. So what I discovered was that the OCO app could see the red light, not the PED head. There were no PED heads at this intersection. Okay, and this was a pretty wide intersection. I actually was right by the Asbury Park train station, if anyone's familiar with the neighborhood. So the app interpreted the red light for the traffic, not the red light for me. Okay, so this would have been the red light controlling the traffic in my parallel, not in my perpendicular. That's right, boys and girls, we're doing math tonight. We're doing geometry. All right, so the app saw the red light and thought that was a don't walk sign, even though that is when I'm supposed to cross with the traffic, especially if I was using the surge, right? Anyone? Bueller? No?
Yes,
Okay.
I'm with you so far. Yes, somebody. Yes.
Right. But when the green light came on, okay, it had no reference. It didn't know what the color green meant, all because it was looking for the walking stick figure. All right. Walk Assist, little bit better. Little bit, so the Walk Assist app is a little bit better at that. Have not run into that particular situation where there are no otherwise designated PED heads. But the other drawback to a Walk Assist or an OCO is that if there are no PED heads at that intersection and a much older street light controlled intersection, or a street light intersection where you're not otherwise permitted to cross. Because just because there's a traffic signal there or even a stop sign does not necessarily mean that it is a pedestrian permissible location.
Yeah.
Right? No? Yes? right? Because you could have some dedicated turning lines. And anyway, I could wonk out on street geometry for hours, but let's not do that tonight. Any other questions or concerns about traffic signal indicator apps?
Now, with the one app, what if there's snow on the ground, like on the corner, let's say?
Big problem. Big problem. It could otherwise mask or obscure your crosswalk when it comes to walk assist. Now, there's a similar app. It's called Super LiDAR. So, first of all, you need the more expensive telephone in order to use that, because LiDAR, in the more expensive phone. So I don't know if you could tell, but so this is the back of my iPhone 12, and this has four. Okay, there's in the upper for you in the upper left-hand corner of my phone, from your perspective, is a box. Within this box are four circles. Okay, at least two of them are lenses. One of them is the LED light, and one of them is in fact a laser emitter. All right, so the Pro phones, it's my understanding that any of your phones, and I'm not sure what the designation within Samsung would be, but the Pro phone uses a laser beam to get the range from the camera to the target. And that's how the phone adjusts its focus. So there's at least two LiDAR, which stands for, it's like radar, except L for laser. So laser detection and ranging, as opposed to radio detection and ranging. So you can actually use SuperSense, and then there's another LiDAR app. You can actually kind of use it like a white cane. So basically what it would do is it would actually, the phone would hum when it detects an object, right? So I'm walking around and then I hear, and the phone's shaking like an earthquake. I say, there's something in front of me. Or theoretically, you could go left and right, and it's like, oh, there's my fence. The fence is on my left. The fence is on my left. It's a very power expensive use of your phone. So I would not want to recommend perhaps using that functionality, especially if you're also using additional apps for navigation. You could really burn your phone down to zero battery pretty quickly. It is somewhat nifty, in my opinion, a little bit more of a party trick at this point in the game. But, to each their own. For some of us, it can work out better. Especially if you're in an indoor or a very close situation, if you don't want to have to break out your cane or go looking for it, you could theoretically do some gross object detection using your phone and get back to where you need to go. All right. Now I'd like to segue into another environmental navigation app, and this app is called Clue, CLEW. As in, here's 25 cents, go buy a Clue. No? Okay, bad joke. Clue is a truly intriguing app, in that what you can use this app for is you or a sighted companion could generate a quick and dirty, or perhaps a not so quick and dirty route using photographs on your telephone. There are two primary functionalities when it comes to the Clue app. One is recording a route, and one is a one-time use route. So, as an example, let's say for a giggle, I'm at a conference. Okay, so I'm in an auditorium area, or we have maybe half a dozen round tables. We have a podium up at the front. And let's say that I needed to go to the bathroom. So what I could do the first time I get to my table, take my backpack off, take my jacket off, get my seat nice and ready, I could say, you know what? I need to know how to get back and forth to the bathroom. So what you would do is you would stand up, identify point zero, and if anyone's worked on 1M with me, what do I refer? What's point zero? Anyone? Matt, I know you were there. All right. When I say point zero is the primary entrance exit. All right. You don't go into a room you don't know how to get out of. And that's by the quote. That's the poet Robert De Niro. So, for example, if I was at the old church, what I might, or no, forget that, scratch that. What I would do is I would locate the main entrance. Maybe I would use my existing memory. Maybe I would ask someone to orient me towards the back door. Then I would activate the map, the function on the app. The app is actually recording a picture. It will actually, for example, it would see the entrance. I would walk towards the entrance, and then let's say I go through the entrance, and now I'm in the lobby, and I may want to ask, is like, excuse me, could someone tell me which direction the bathroom is? So they say, oh, hey pal, the bathroom is to your right. There's an alcove, and then the men's room is right again once you get inside the alcove. So then I would turn to my right.
Yeah, I know.
And I would walk towards that alcove, and then I would use my O&M skills to locate the bathroom door. Then I would deactivate the phone, maybe turn the app off, go do my business. Once I come outside the bathroom with the bathroom door to my back, I would reactivate my phone, turn the app back on, and then based on the picture inside the phone, I would actually be able to navigate right back to my seat. Because I already had a picture of roughly where my seat is, where the main entrance is, and then where I turned into the men's room. Now you could create much more complex apps with this particular phone app by you could actually drop breadcrumbs. Hansel and Gretel, anyone read?
Yeah.
Hansel? Right? Maddie, you'd probably call it waypoints, like Call of Duty or some of the other video games out there. So you can actually create more complex routes, and you could also save them in your phone, so if you're at a brand new work location, if there's maybe 3 or 4 particular routes that you want to have saved, one to the bathroom, one to the lunchroom, one to your boss's office or the conference area. So it has some pretty intense functionality. And because there's like hardly any buttons involved, it's really just your phone and the camera. In some ways, it's pretty simple. And I'm thinking that I think that one day I'd love to come in with Kay, and I'd love to maybe do like a primer on how to use at least 1 or 2 of these apps, especially in an indoor situation. And that's the thing about Clue. Clue bills itself as an indoor situation navigation app. You may not necessarily want to use this in an outdoor setting. because outdoor it's a little bit more dynamic. Pictures change. Because like if I was, let's say, I don't know, taking a picture along a street, spring could look awfully different compared to winter. Right? Those trees with the green leaves, those will go away. They'll just turn into a bunch of brown sticks at some point. So the makers of Clue prefer that it be an indoor navigation aid. Any other questions or concerns or any comments about Clue?
How would you suggest getting accurate pictures? You don't have any vision, or just do you find taking pictures difficult? Because it seems like a very image-based app.
Very good question. Because apps such as Oko, Walk Assist, and Clue require a reasonable picture taking. First of all, Clue actually is part of the tutorial. Within the Clue, they actually have recommendations for holding the phone. What I would suggest is, stand up straight like a military soldier, throw your shoulders back, head up. Then I would place my phone right around my sternum clavicle junction. The sternum, the center of your rib cage, the hard part right in the middle, and your clavicle or your collar bone. So basically the bone that's at the top of your rib cage. So basically you're kind of placing it about 3 or 4 finger widths below your chin. And you may want to place it against your bod, which would provide a certain level of straight up and downness. Sorry, I'm so technical. So if you can hold it like that, this is a reasonably good way of getting a picture of your overall environment. Now, of course, the image is being broadcast on the back of the phone. So if you do have usable vision, this can assist you. But otherwise, yes, you use at least your chest, your sternum as a plane. Hold it, like I said, like a couple finger widths underneath your chin, and this has a reasonable expectation of creating or of capturing the view in front of you with as wide of an angle as possible. Any other questions or concerns?
Is Good Map still available?
As far as I know, Good Maps is still available. You've got the outdoor and the indoor version. It's a little cumbersome for me. I find it to be a very busy app. There's lots of stuff going on. Not to mention, some of these apps, you have to use voice over with it, especially if you don't have good usable vision. And that could become it can add a level of complexity. So it's not necessarily for everyone. But Good Maps is also another great app when it comes to points of interest and also doing call outs. All right. Any other?
Doug,
Yeah.
it's Vicky. I'm sorry to interrupt. Melissa has her hand raised.
Oh, yes.
I just had a question. So does Clue have any audio function, or do you have to have some usable?
Yes. Clue is pretty audible. I'm going to try and activate it.
What's going on?
Okay, so all right, the moment you turn it on, it does not start talking right away. So that's a bit of a problem. So then what you may want to do is so I'm using Apple. Does everyone know, do you know the speak screen function?
No.
All right, you have to go into settings and activate the speak screen function. It's under visual settings. basically, once it's activated, it basically will just simply read the screen by taking 2 fingers, pulling it at the top, and then pulling down along the screen.
Empty list, empty list, empty list, empty list, empty list, empty list.
Oh,
empty list,
that's not
empty list, empty
that,
list.
that is not
empty list,
that is not
empty list,
helpful.
Empty list, empty list, empty list.
Quiet,
empty
you.
list.
All right, let me activate voiceover instead. Come on, you.
Ah,
Siri, activate voiceover.
huh.
There we go. Thank you, hon.
Voiceover. You're welcome.
Here we go.
Record a single use route, but save a route, but saved routes list, but saved routes list, save a record help, options, button.
All right. So upon initial activation, it is not totally friendly. But if I were to click on
Record a single use route, button, record a single use route. Stop recording, not recording a single use route. Hold vertically with the rear camera facing forward.
so that second part about recording, that's the app. That is not the voiceover setting. Okay, so it is not entirely NLP or no light perception friendly, but it is somewhat. Siri, deactivate voiceover.
Voiceover off.
Thank you, hon. All right. Now there is there is a very simple there is a very simple menu, so it can be tweaked a little bit, but it's really basically only the 3 big buttons at the very beginning. All right. Questions or concerns? All right. So now I'd like to dive into cane tips and canes. First, I would like to shout out to Sideways Innovation. Oh, where did I put her? I'm going to be right back. This is going to be stupid. Talk amongst yourselves.
So everyone, this is Vicky. While Doug is going to retrieve whatever he is, I just want to let you know, if any of you are participants in our in-person programs, one app that he didn't mention was VLANJ. It's a navigation app that gives you, directional orientation directions. And we do actually have codes now up at our new office in Morris Plains. So if you come to program, download the app and you can check it out, and it will give you directions on how to navigate around the space.
All righty. Can you see this? All right. I'm holding up a white shaft, approximately 4.5 feet long, with a silver handle and a red bottom. Oh, snap. And now it's lit up. This is from a company called Sideways Innovation of New Hampshire. This was actually once upon a time a lightsaber for Star Wars cosplay. Now it's a light up glow in the dark cane. They actually have about a half a dozen different models. Some of them telescope, some of them don't. It's for fun. It really, really is. It's a little bit on the ridiculous side, but I am ridiculous. And I also, it looks great at the bar. So, yeah, the guy who builds them, he's also a visually impaired person. Basically, he got like a pallet or 2 of these things, and he cuts them down. He puts cane tips on the edge, and he modifies them that way. So, again, if you on a lark, it's not, as an O&M, I cannot endorse it for street crossing, simply because not everyone's going to know what it is. a lot of them change color. So yes, a lot of fun for the party, but you are compromising your safety if you're using anything other than the traditional white and red configuration when it comes to crossing streets. Now, with that said, I'd like to discuss some cane tips with you. All right. So you all familiar with this particular cane tip right here, the jumbo rolling ball? Anyone? Does anyone use this particular? No?
I have used it when I used to go camping with the Boy Scouts.
All right. And that's a pretty good place to use it. Because for anyone who cannot see it, it's a ball. It's actually anchored to the so I'm holding a folded up 5-segmented cane. It's actually totally red because I don't know if you could see that. This is my Scarlet Knights Rutgers cane, which has gone to a lot of basketball games with me this year.
Your camera is not on.
Yeah, Doug, your camera's not on. I was just going to tell you that.
Oh, fooey noodles. Let me see if I can fix that. Any better?
No.
Huh.
That's better. There you are.
Here I are. Okay. Let's try that again. Ow. I meant to do that. Sorry. Let me put that back. All right. So here's my folded up Scarlet Knights cane with a rolling jumbo ball on it. So the jumbo ball only has one axle. This axle is it goes lateral. So when I'm using the cane, it allows me to roll back and forth, but as I walk forward, it grinds. Okay, so the ground and the side are going to act like a file or sandpaper. The jumbo ball is great for broken sidewalks, grass, pretty much not very great walking surfaces. Oh, and let me get the stupid lightsaber cane. So here we go. Ooh. and a fixed tip. I actually broke one. It's actually in the shop. That's a telescoping one. It makes all the Star Wars noises. It it also has like half a dozen different colors in it. But like I indicated, that's not necessarily the best thing for street crossing. Now, this other cane tip, all right, so this is a standard Ambutech 5-segmented 56-inch cane. This is my backup driver, and now she is sporting this. I don't know if anyone's familiar with this. This is, all right, it looks like a rolling marshmallow, all right, but it's actually a bit more rounded. This is actually from a company called A Werewolf. That is correct. So A Werewolf makes 2 different canes. One is called the all-terrain cane. That is meant for hiking. It's a 3-segmented titanium steel cane that can actually bear your weight. Now, I don't know if anyone's done O&M with me, but I've always said, do not ever put weight upon your white cane. Ever. And the ATC, it's the only exception. And if anyone wants to see it before the end of the night, just let me know. All right. But this is actually for their Urban Explorer cane. It's rounded, so even though it has the axle, so it allows you to go left and right for your constant contact technique. This rounded, heavy-duty material allows the tip to slide forward a little bit more, as opposed to less grinding. And now, la pièce de résistance. Look at this bad boy. Oh my goodness. I'm pointing the king tip at you guys. This, boys and girls, this is Ambutech's Pathfinder 360. All right. It's big. It's about a 2-inch diameter, like the jumbo ball. It has a lateral axle, which allows it to go left and right. But, and now I'm going to bring it in really close to come here, camera. There we go. There we go. Look at that butt crack right there.
Ow,
All
why
right.
are you hitting me?
Right. So looky here. All right. So this cane tip, not only does it rotate in this plane, but the two hemispheres also rotate in this plane. All right. This cane tip rolls forward. It doesn't grind. It rolls. If anyone's had the opportunity to try this out, it is slippery as slippery. It is a monster game changer. This compared to the jumbo ball on grass, there is no comparison. There truly isn't. If you use the jumbo ball, like I plan on going to Rutgers Day, the end of April. If anyone wants to go, all 3 campuses, Camden, Newark, and New Brunswick, all have big open campuses. So you get to see all the programs. I particularly like Cook Douglas in New Brunswick because you get to go to the barns and get to see all the calves and the kids and the lambs and the piglets. But that's just me. So this cane tip it's off the charts. It's off the hook. It's off the chain. I can't really praise it enough. Now, unfortunately, it is expensive. It's approximately $39. But it is a hook-on cane tip. I don't know if you could see there you go, the hook. So it is compatible with most of our white mobility canes. Questions or concerns or funny jokes?
I use the NFB cane, so I have the metal tip.
The metal glide. That's a really bold choice, Matt. But I've seen you use your cane, and you're a professional.
Yeah.
So the metal glide, I'm not sure if anyone's familiar with it. The metal glide, it reminds me of the bottoms of chairs or desks from elementary school. It's basically kind of a metal disc that's attached to the bottom of your cane.
And it's a rigid cane.
Doug, I'm sorry to interrupt, but we have somebody with their hand up.
Oh, yes.
We have Melissa.
Hi. Can I ask, what is the difference between marshmallow tip?
Oh, hon, you're gonna have to repeat that.
Oh, I'm sorry. What's the difference or advantages of using the marshmallow tip versus the one that you're just speaking about, the Ambutech? Is there different surfaces, different circumstances for each, or can you use each one as your everyday on your travels, I guess?
You absolutely can use each of them as your everyday driver. The way I think of it, the rolling marshmallow tip is the Swiss Army knife of cane tips. It does many jobs well, but it does not do any job ideally. All right. So it is never the perfect tip. However, the major difference between a rolling marshmallow and the Pathfinder is you're going to get a lot more information about the surface that you're walking on. So if you have neuropathy in your hands and you need to feel the things, like the truncated domes or the cracks in the sidewalk, the marshmallow tip and even the jumbo ball will transmit that vibration much better through the shaft of the cane to you. So you have much better idea of what surface is underneath you. But if you don't need that level of feedback, the Pathfinder can be better. You can move faster. You will not get jabbed in the stomach as much, but you are losing a certain level of information. It does make up for it to a point because the Pathfinder creates a like a clinking noise. So you could perhaps substitute the sound of the Pathfinder versus the vibration from your rolling marshmallow. But at the end of the day, it's all about personal preference. If you are not walking very, very fast, now I walk fast, okay? I have pretty long legs and I like to hustle, especially if the weather's nasty. So for me, the Pathfinder is right now the way to go.
We have another question.
Sure.
Matthew?
Hold on.
Matt, Matt, it's Vicky. You muted yourself.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
One thing I hate with the roller tips, especially in the winter, you can't tell. I was at issue. You can't tell what's pavement, what's grass.
With your metal glide?
No. With the rolling one, the marshmallow I used to have. Like the on my folding.
That's you see now that's all about you. You know,
Yeah.
You have to figure out at the end of the day, it's like trying on a tux or a dress for prom. You have to find out what fits you and what suits you. You know, so what you like and how it works.
Yeah.
Now, of course, sometimes what we like and what works could be totally different things.
Mm.
You know, I don't get to wear many.
Yeah, that's why I like the metal tip, because I can tell what's pavement, what's grass in the winter.
Right, and for Matt, that metal glide tip, yeah, he is getting monster levels of feedback. He could probably tell you how much aggregate per square inch is in that sidewalk. Aggregate is the stone. No, I know. Mm-hmm. Sorry, engineering wonk.
A little joke, I know.
Okay. Oh, and just so everyone knows, my Pathfinder is actually attached to my Urban Explorer cane from a werewolf. It's not quite built to the same standard as my all-terrain cane. This is heavy-duty aluminum, so it's brick house. I can smash the snoogans out of this thing. It also has a telescoping handle, so it can go from 48 to 58 inches. The all-terrain cane can also do that. But again, you don't put your weight on this sucker. But it is built to a much more robust standard than our carbon fiber Ambutech canes. It is heavier than an Ambutech cane. It absolutely is. But you know what? I like the weight. I like the vibration. I like the way it feels. And I tricked her out with my 360 and also a little EDC flashlight. Any other questions, concerns?
Hi, Hilton Santiago here.
Yo.
Actually, everybody knows me as Tony, but quick question. What was the name of the roller tip that can roll forward as well as sideways? And I think it's by Ambutech, am I right?
Correct. This is the Pathfinder 360.
Pathfinder 360. Okay. And I have one more question. Have you heard of the Glide? And are you planning on looking into that and getting one? I've already pre-ordered one. They're coming out in September of 25.
That's the Roomba looking thing, right?
The Glide, it's got wheels and it's got haptics and
Oh, yeah, I know.
cameras and sensors and use AI, and it's going to be like a guide dog with wheels.
I had an opportunity to try it at Soma back in October. It didn't really work out well for me. But that's me, and I really only had a few minutes to work with it. It's intriguing. It's truly intriguing. But unlike, a guide dog has a certain level of training, so it can be willfully disobedient for you. Does anyone know that term, willful disobedience? So if
Yeah,
if you're a guide dog user, when you're approaching an intersection, your guide dog will walk in front of you to stop you at every single intersection, because that dog was taught that you have something to do before you cross that street, right? Dogs don't know traffic lights. Dogs know moving objects. Okay, but they don't know traffic lights and they don't know stop signs. And at the end of the day, if you're using a guide dog, you have to make the final decision whether it's time to cross that street. So you have to be able to use your residual vision or your hearing in order to decide, you know what, the traffic is not moving in my perpendicular, the traffic is moving in my parallel, it's time to cross. So as far as I know, the Glide does not have that function. Okay,
the
Glide will
Glide.
take you into the street and not stop you.
I'm sorry, not to interrupt you, but the Glide, well, like I understand a guide dog can do these. I was a guide dog user for 20 years, so I know their capabilities, and my dog has saved me numerous times. But now my life is not conducive for a guide dog. It wouldn't serve me in the way that I know a guide dog needs to be used. I don't have that level of activity anymore. But so, and some people don't have a situation where they can have a dog, and some people just don't want to take care of a dog. There's a lot of responsibility and care that goes into having a guide dog. This will be, this is going to have a lot of functionality as far as like letting you know that you're reaching a corner, because it will give you haptics and things like that. And they're going to be continually improving. They're continually getting feedback from people, and questions and features that we want to see, and they have incorporated many of those features. So their YouTube page is great for looking up all the latest information on them. And I was just curious as to what you thought about it. Thank you very much for the presentation.
Pleasure.
And
in my
Doug,
humble opinion, the Glide is not quite ready for prime time.
Another question.
Yet. Oh, yes, please.
Harry? I think she's
Yes.
muted.
Is that you're talking to me?
Yes, Terry, you're good.
Yes. Okay. Two quick things. Number one, they talked about using the Glide today at a webinar regarding crossing the street, and they don't recommend that you rely on it to get you across the street. That's not something it does yet. It will help you to approach the curb, etc. And it will make sure that if the street crossing is straight across from you, it will help you to get across the street, but you still have to use your mobility skills in order to initiate that crossing and get safely across. The other thing, a question, is there such a thing as an adapter? Because some canes, for the cane tips, they call for like a slip-on tip, where others have the hook. Is there such a thing as an adapter, so that if you have a cane that normally would use a slip-on tip, you could adapt that so that the end that goes on the cane would be a slip-on, and there would be this other piece, or the other side of it that would then allow you to use a hook-on tip instead?
Not that I know of, but so here's the thing with, especially with your Ambutech canes. So there's a nylon cord that basically goes from the handle, tied at the end of the handle. It goes all the way through the shaft,
Right.
all the way down to
The bungee cord type.
the bungee cord.
Yep.
All the way down to your tip. So this is the core. This is the thing that holds your cane together. This is the thing that gives it tension. So in the form of the hook-on cane tip, being that this is so integral to the entire structure of the cane, I don't know if there is a slip-on, hook-on adapter. Now, maybe for a cane that is already coming to you as a slip-on tip, because as far as I know, they still have this, the bungee is still still goes through the core, but
Correct.
it is not reliant upon the bungee to give it tension and to secure it in there. So it might go that way, but I just don't know of any I just don't really know of any adaptation at that direction. And unfortunately, the Pathfinder, as far as I know, is only available as a hook-on cane tip.
Yes, that's my understanding as
Right.
well.
So if you are, in fact, currently using a slip-on cane, the Pathfinder may not be ideal for that yet.
Okay. And you were going to make a comment about my first comment about the glide and getting across.
Yes. So any of these apps, any of these canes, any of these cane tips, you still have to have a full suite of orientation and mobility instruction before you go trotting off on your merry way.
Absolutely.
Because none of these apps, none of these cane tips, and not even the glide, none of these are a substitute for O&M instruction. Cannot stress that enough.
Even a dog guide, and I've had 3, are no substitute for that. They require you, schools now require you to have good O&M skills before they're going to issue you a dog.
Absolutely. You're preaching to the converted, sister.
Okay, well, thank you so much.
Pleasure.
Thank you, Doug, it's Matt. Thank you again for your presentation.
I have a quick question I wonder if I could ask.
Yeah, go ahead, Philip.
Okay, so I wanted to know your opinion about this, and I'm showing it, but that doesn't matter to you, I suppose. But it's a titanium telescoping cane, similar to one of them that you showed. But I wanted to have one I could lean on so I could use it hiking, and so this is like
that one.
Terrain.
Let me go get my big girl. Hold on.
It's good for self-defense for those of you who like to see.
Doug has many canes. There he is.
So this is the all-terrain cane.
Yeah. So this is like 1/5 or 1/6 as big as that. It's very light, but it's strong enough to lean on. So I got it. The titanium came from that whatever that
LS&C.
Yeah.
Or
anyway,
LS&S.
LS&S, yeah. And then I put onto the tip of it, I put a pickleball. And the only reason I had to do that was because it uses the an 8mm screw-on tip. It doesn't do a hook tip. Anyway, the reason I got this, and it's kind of worn out now, but I have it so that the pickleball is like a ball, and the screws that I use to screw into the tip of it, let's see if I get it with the, they protrude out like not a point, but it stabs into the ground, but only about 1/4 or 1/2 inch. And when I have this extended, I'm low vision. I walk in rough terrain, poking it, and it doesn't slip sideways. It stays still. But if I hold it out in front of me like a walking thing, then it rolls along the ground. And so I can use this like a anyway, I wanted to know what you felt about something like that. And it's not, I had to make it myself. There's no way, nobody provides this kind of a tip that has a pointy thing.
Indeed, and I think I have that cane, and I smashed the crap out of it. I really beat the hell out of it, and so all the attaching, all the little pieces at the end of the segments that glow in the dark, so all of them came off. So I really beat the snoogans out of her. When it comes to telescoping canes, I can never endorse putting weight on them ever. Not even this one.
I have used this to leapfrog with my weight on it over ground, and it is never bent. The tip, I agree that the tips that they sell with it are bad, but by making this, and this is titanium, about $75, $80 or something, and it is really incredibly good for putting weight on. Anyway, I agree though, definitely you want to test it out and not put too much weight on it. But when I'm hiking, and I because I'm low vision, sorry, I'll get down here where I'm lower. I look around, but I can't see detail, and I wear bioptic glasses, so I have telescopes on my glasses and things like that. And I use this so I never have to look down at the ground, but I also won't fall over. If I start to trip, it'll hold me up. Anyway.
And if it works for you, fantastic. But my biggest gripe about telescoping canes is that they do tend to collapse under a strong impact.
This one has a push button. I don't know. Did you have that? And it will not collapse unless I push the button.
I have that identical cane.
Yeah.
You know, but like I said, I really beat the ever loving life out of it.
Yeah.
She is not the
maybe
cane
for low vision. It's better because Now
what I recommend.
Go on, Matt.
What I recommend, Target has telescopic hiking canes that you can bring hiking. They're like ski poles.
But so what I think like an engineer when it comes to this particular issue, because any one of those little toggles can fail. You know, so and a chain is only as strong as its weakest link. So I like a telescoping cane as a backup, especially if you're carrying a backup cane with you. So if you're daily driver or your hiker or whatever, if it fails, I like having if you have a telescoping cane in your backpack, simply because it is convenient for carrying around. I just feel that there are too many potential points of failure for any telescoping cane. Even if it is a dedicated, hiking cane, this thing is, it is really built brick house. I can't endorse it enough. If I'm ever at Vision Loss Alliance, Phil, and you're there, I'd love to show that.
Yeah, I'm going to order one. It's $120, $130 though, so that's.
It is expensive. Yeah. It's not cheap. So yeah, that titanium cane is about 2/3 the price.
Yeah, and I agree. I can keep this little one with me all the time, and it's never in the way because it's so light. And
indeed,
but I use it to actually go over creeks and use it like a pole. So it's, of course, I'm only 160 pounds, so that's
right. So hey, you know what? You found what works for you, and you know what? No amount of instruction, no amount of me lecturing is going to make you change your mind. If it works for you, fantastic. But
thanks for the feedback.
But when it comes to crossing the street, or my particular opinion, no, as a professional, will not endorse a telescoping cane to bear your weight ever. That's just my opinion as a practitioner.
Thanks,
Huh?
Doug.
Pleasure.
Anybody else have any other questions or comments before we wrap up for the evening? Doug, any last little tidbits?
Nope. I'm pretty good.
Well, Doug, thank you so much for joining us this evening. This was a very informative presentation. And thank you to Bill, who dropped in all of the apps that Doug had mentioned in the chat. And I also did share Anthony's contact information, our technology coordinator. If you do need it, please feel free to reach out to me directly. And as always, just remember that to follow our Tech Talks Facebook page and our VLANJ YouTube channel. And I hope everyone has a wonderful evening and stays well.
All right, everyone, have a good night.
Thank you, Doug.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Have a good
Thank
night.
you. Have a good night.
Doug. Bye, everyone.
Bye.
Bye.